Welcome, gentle listener, to Sleepy Facts, a calm harbor for wandering thoughts, where curiosity moves as softly as breath, and learning drifts at the pace of rest. Let the world above loosen its noise. Let your body find stillness in the dark. Here, knowledge is not studied, it's felt. If this quiet feels right, you may stay a while. New stories arrive each night, soft as the tide returning home. Breathe slowly now. Imagine the weight of the day dissolving like sand slipping back into the sea. Somewhere below that calm surface, the water begins to sing. Not with words, but with deep, echoing tones that travel farther than any wind songs that circle the planet. Older than our cities, and still, no one knows exactly why they sing. Perhaps they are speaking to the sea, perhaps to each other, or perhaps to us. These are the whales, the ocean's slow musicians, the quiet heartbeats of the blue world. Far beneath the silver light, they move through still water like constellations drifting in slow motion. Each breath they take bridges two worlds, air and ocean, sky and depth. They are giants of calm mammals like us, who once walked on land, then chose to return to the sea. Their ancestors stepped into the waves 50 million years ago and never looked back. Since then, they have carried the memory of the shore in their blood and in their breath, but their souls belong to the water. Their bodies are poems of adaptation. A heart as heavy as a car beating only twice a minute when they dive. A single lungful of air that can last for nearly an hour. Each exhale rises as a misty tower, a sigh of the planet, vanishing into sky. They sleep with only half the mind, while the other stays awake to breathe. Even in dreams, they listen their awareness like a candle in deep water, never fully extinguished. And when they travel, they move with the patience of gravity itself. Thousands of kilometers each year, guided by magnetic whispers, by memories carried in the bones of the earth. Mothers swim beside their calves, their calls weaving a private melody that no other ears can hear. A lullaby beneath the waves made of distance and belonging. Above them, light fades to green, then blue, then endless. The ocean folds around them like sleep around a sigh. The sea, endless and waiting, was not always their home. Long before these giants learned to sing, their ancestors walked upon the land. They had legs and hooves and skin that felt the sun and lungs that filled with dry, warm air. They lived beside rivers, drinking from the edge of a world they did not yet belong to. But something in them remembered the sound of water, a pull older than thought, older than bone. Perhaps it was curiosity or longing or the quiet call of gravity itself. Step by step, they moved closer to the shore until one day the boundary dissolved. The first steps into the sea must have felt like both surrender and return, a giving up of weight, a rediscovery of flow. The land released them, and the water took them back. From that moment, evolution began its patient work, reshaping breath into endurance and flesh into grace. The legs that once walked the plains became fins that carved the water. The nostrils on the snout moved slowly to the top of the head, becoming the blowhole, a window between two worlds. Inside the heart learned to slow the lungs to fold and unfold under pressure. The body remembered how to be patient again. Each change was not a leap, but a drift, the slow sculpting of time. The creatures grew larger, their bones hollowing their shapes, smoothing until finally they could live entirely within the blue. They did not conquer the ocean. They became it. Even now, in the cells of every whale, there is still the memory of the shore, a whisper of dry wind, the taste of leaf and dust. But their hearts beat to another rhythm, now the rhythm of waves. To live in water is to surrender to its shape. To breathe air while dwelling in the deep is to trust the balance between worlds. And that is what they do. They breathe, they dive, they rise again, each motion an act of faith. In the great calm beneath the waves, you can almost imagine that every heartbeat is the echo of that ancient decision. The moment when life, once land-bound, chose to fall back into silence. The whales are not refugees of the earth. They are pilgrims of memory. Through them, the planet remembers the tenderness of change, how to let go of what it was to become what it must be. Somewhere, far below the glimmer of sunlight, a whale turns slowly in the dark, its shadow folding into blue. The sea embraces it completely, as if welcoming back an old friend. Below the shimmer of the surface, the whales move through corridors of light. Their bodies gleam and fade like shifting moons. Every motion is slow, deliberate, as if time itself bends around them. Their shape is the memory of water, smooth, rounded, made for quiet travel. They carry no armor, no defense, only size and calm. The sea holds them up, and they in turn hold the sea. Inside, a vast heart beats heavy as a car, deep as a drum in the dark. When they dive, that rhythm slows until it almost disappears. 2 beats in a minute, a single sound echoing through a cathedral of water. It is the calmest pulse on earth. Their lungs fill with air. Ones then fold in upon themselves as they descend. The pressure does not crush. It teaches the body to yield. Blood rich with oxygen moves to where it is needed, while other organs rest in stillness, trusting the deep. It is a lesson in surrender, how life endures by softening. Around them, the ocean thickens with blue. Temperature drops, light thins to silver, then to green, then to gray. Still, they travel downward through layers of silence. At depth, the water presses against them with the weight of mountains, and yet they glide with ease, a gesture of peace shaped into flesh. When it is time to rise again, the heart quickens. Air returns to the lungs. The whale lifts itself slowly upward until the surface breaks in a small explosion of breath. A spout of mist and light, the world's gentlest thunder. That sound, the exhale, is how the ocean remembers the sky. They breathe with awareness. Unlike us, they cannot forget to. Each breath is chosen, deliberate, a decision to remain alive. Even in rest, they never fully sleep. One half of the brain slumbers, the other watches, listens, breathes. The balance between waking and dreaming is where they live. At times, they float near the surface, motionless, as if suspended between two worlds. Light drifts across their skin, rippled patterns of gold and blue. Fish gather around them, small sparks orbiting a living planet. In that stillness, the ocean looks back at itself. The whales carry warmth under their skin, a layer of life's own insulation, a coat of memory and energy. Blubber keeps them steady in cold waters, so that they may roam from pole to equator without fear of the deep's chill. Each part of their being speaks of patience. They are not built for haste. Their strength lies in stillness, their beauty in restraint. They have mastered the art of being vast and gentle at once. When they turn, the sea turns with them. When they rest, the world seems to pause. Even the currents slow, listening to the quiet machinery of their breath. And in that listening, you might hear something more, the sound of peace, steady and ancient, beating in rhythm with the planet itself. Across the vast oceans, they journey as if following invisible threads. No map, no compass, only the pull of memory and magnetic whispers woven through the bones of the earth. The whales travel thousands of kilometers each year, from feeding grounds of cold abundance to warm, quiet waters, where life begins anew. Theirs is a pilgrimage without hurry, a cycle older than any song. Every migration is a kind of remembering of where the sea is rich, where it is gentle, where the next generation will arrive. They move in loose lines, a pod here, a solitary wanderer there. Sometimes they meet circling one another like drifting planets, their calls low and patient. Then they separate again, trusting that the ocean will gather them once more. Mothers swim beside their calves, their bodies almost touching. The small ones, still learning to breathe, press close for warmth, for rhythm, for safety. Every few minutes, the mother rises, lifting the calf toward the light, showing it how to take air from the sky. The calf's breath bursts upward, a silver cloud in morning air. The mother answers with her own, and for a moment, the sea smells like rain. They speak to each other constantly, soft private frequencies no other ears can hear. Each tone carries comfort, direction, love. The water holds their conversation in its arms, passing it from one current to another, a message that may outlast distance. At times, when the night grows thick, they rest together near the surface. Stars burn faintly above, and the faint light from plankton glows below. Between those mirrors, they hover half in each world, breathing in rhythm with the cosmos. The sea gives them paths that shift and change, like thought itself. Ice melts, currents alter, and still they move guided by senses older than sight. Somehow they know. Perhaps the planet speaks through them the way trees know when to flower or birds when to fly. When dawn touches the horizon, their backs break through the surface again. Mist rises, gilded by sunlight. A whale's breath hangs for a heartbeat in the air, then dissolves into sky. Around them, the ocean gleams like glass, endless forgiving. They keep moving their pace, unbroken, their patience endless. To watch them is to understand stillness in motion, how a being can cross the world without ever seeming to leave the same place. In their wake, the water stirs with quiet renewal. Nutrients rise, tiny lives bloom. The whales do not know this and do not need to. Their existence itself is a gift. The ocean flows around them, softly repeating their rhythm. For all the distances they travel, they are never lost. Wherever they go, the sea is home. Deep beneath the surface, where light fades and the world becomes vibration, the whales begin to sing. Their voices travel farther than sight could ever reach, rolling waves of sound that curve around the planet, touching one another in the dark. A single note from a blue whale can cross an entire ocean. It moves through the water like thunder slowed into prayer. A low trembling felt more than heard. Every tone lingers for seconds, and the silence between tones feels as sacred as the sound itself. The humpback song is more intricate, a weaving of phrases and patterns, soft refrains that repeat and change. For hours they sing, for weeks, for months, each season giving birth to a new variation. Somewhere out there, another answers and another after that, until the ocean itself becomes a great instrument of memory. No one knows why they sing. Perhaps to find one another, perhaps to comfort, perhaps because beauty once discovered cannot be kept silent. Each population shares its own song, unique, evolving, passed from one generation to the next. When a new pattern appears, others adopt it, carrying it across the seas until the whole ocean hums with the same refrain. It is the planet's slowest exchange of culture, an art form carried by salt and time. Their songs move through layers of water, bending and refracting, becoming pathways of communication. The sea is full of these invisible corridors of sound where messages pass between creatures miles and worlds apart. In 1877, when a golden record left Earth, carrying the sounds of our world into the dark of space, among greetings in dozens of human tongues, was the voice of a whale, a gift from ocean to cosmos, a fragment of our planet's calmest heart. If someone somewhere among the stars should ever play that record, the first thing they will hear will not be us. It will be the sea itself speaking through the whales, the oceans singing to the universe. Their music is not confined to sound. It becomes motion, the roll of a body, the opening of a jaw, the tremor of water over skin. They move as if sculpting their voices into shape. The vibration touches coral stone plankton. All of it responds a choir too vast for us to measure. Scientists call it acoustics, but the ocean calls it language. Through it, the whales see. Clicks and echoes paint maps of the unseen images built from resonance and return. They know where the mountains are, where the fish scatter, where the next whale drifts. Their world is made of sound and silence. We live by light. They live by listening. If you ever float in still water and close your eyes, you might feel a faint vibration, a reminder that somewhere far away, a song is moving through the deep, a signal of life continuing steady and patient, keeping time with the breathing of the world. Every movement of a whale changes the water around it. Each stroke of a fin sends ripples outward, carrying nutrients from deep to shallow, waking the drifting gardens of the ocean. When they rise to breathe, their vast bodies stir the surface. The water rolls, light dances, and hidden elements lift upward, feeding the smallest lives, the plankton that turns sunlight into air. From those unseen gardens comes the oxygen that fills our lungs. Through them, the whales breathe for us too. As they feed and travel, their bodies become part of the sea's quiet rhythm of renewal. Their waste, rich with iron, drifts like a delicate rain into waiting waters, and from that rain, new blooms appear. Plankton spread across the waves, the foundation of everything that swims, that breathes, that lives within salt. When the whales vanish into the deep again, the surface remains changed, more alive, more bright. They are the unseen farmers of the sea, tending to the ocean's balance with every dive and exhale. And when their long lives finally end, they do not drift into nothingness. A whale's body, immense and silent, sinks slowly through the blue. The descent can take hours, turning, swaying a ceremony without witnesses. Light fades to shadow, then to black. When it reaches the seafloor, it settles like a fallen star. Around it, the deep begins to awaken. Scavengers gather small lives born of darkness. Worms, crabs, strange fish with eyes like tiny lanterns. They feed for years, then decades, drawing sustenance from what was once motion. In this way, the whale's life continues as nourishment, as shelter, as warmth in the coldest places on Earth. Scientists call this a whale fall. But the word fall feels wrong. It is not a collapse. It is a gift, a final offering to the world that carried it. The ocean receives the body, and in that giving life multiplies. 1,000 creatures bloom in gratitude. Even in death, the whales teach us how to give quietly, how to let go without vanishing, how to turn ending into beginning. Above the water keeps moving currents, shifting as if in gentle applause. New generations swim through the same corridors of sound, never knowing what sleeps far below. Yet somehow the rhythm remains. The deep remembers, and when the next whale rises for breath, its exhale joins the same circle sea to sky life to life, one unbroken thread of calm. For centuries, people watched the sea and wondered about the giants moving beneath it. From the shore, they saw only glimpses, a mist, a shadow, a slow curve breaking through the water. Stories grew around those moments. Some said the whales were spirits, others God's creatures, older than time, keepers of the world's secrets. But curiosity often came wrapped in fear. In the age of sails, the hunters went out with harpoons and hope, chasing the vast shapes through fog and wave. They called it courage, but the sea knew it was hunger. For oil, for wealth, for control. The whales fell, and the ocean grew quieter. Then came the stories that began to listen instead of conquer. Herman Melville wrote Moby Dick, a tale of pursuit and obsession, where the white whale was not only a creature, but a mirror. A reflection of what happens when humankind tries to master what should only be met with awe. The story became a warning disguised as myth. Years later, from the other side of the world, a different voice rose, a story from the Maori people of Aotearoa, of a girl named Paikea, who could hear the whale's call, the whale rider. In her dream, the whales were guardians and she their listener. It was a tale not of conquest, but of kinship, the bond between human and sea that had once been forgotten. And in the 20th century, a sound reached human ears again, not from imagination, but from water itself. Hydrophones placed in the ocean captured voices unlike anything heard before. Long, mournful, complex, woven with rhythm and grace. The songs of the humpback whale. People who heard them for the first time often cried without knowing why. Something in the deep tone seemed to speak of memory, of connection, of forgiveness. It reminded us that we were not alone in our longing. Those recordings circled the world. They became symbols, melodies that carried both beauty and regret. For a while, the hunting slowed. The world listened. And in that listening, the whales began to return. Today, there are still danger's engines that drown their music nets, that ensnare plastics, that drift where calves should swim. But there is also hope. Researchers travel beside them, not with harpoons, but with microphones and reverence. Children learn their names. Artists paint their silence. Writers turn their breath into metaphor. Through the whales, we remember something essential, that intelligence does not need words, that emotion does not require translation, and that peace, real peace, moves slowly, like the body of a whale gliding beneath the stars. The ocean holds our reflection in its depths, and when the whales sing, they return it to us, echoing across water, reminding us that to listen is its own form of love. Now, the sea hums with many kinds of sound. The thrum of engines, the pulse of sonar, the constant murmur of ships tracing invisible highways. To the whales, it is a storm without wind, a confusion of echoes that hides their own voices. Sometimes they lose one another in the noise, their calls fading before they reach a friend. Yet still, they sing. Even when the ocean seems too crowded to listen, they keep the melody alive. Each note is a promise that somewhere in the world there is still quiet enough for beauty. When they rise to breathe, their spouts glitter in the sun like small prayers. Each breath, an act of faith. Each dive, a descent into trust. In the deep, the pressure returns, folding around them like time. Their hearts slow again, patient as gravity. The world above changes faster than the tides. Ice melts, currents shift. The boundaries of warmth and cold move north and south like restless dreams. Still, the whales continue their long migrations guided by instincts older than climate, older than us. They are the rhythm that endures the planet's heartbeat beneath all the noise. And perhaps that is why people listen for them. Even in our cities of glass and metal, where the ocean seems far away, we carry its echo in our blood. When we hear a whale song, something ancient stirs within us. A recognition that calm can be powerful, that slowness is not weakness, that endurance is its own kind of wisdom. There are those who stand watch for them now. Teams follow their paths by satellite, measure their pulses through sound. In the data and the graphs, scientists hear stories of lives lived across hemispheres, of families meeting again after years apart. The knowledge is precise, but what moves the heart is the mystery that remains. Some whales vanish into quiet seas where microphones cannot follow. Some dive to depths no light can reach. But even there, their songs ripple outward. The ocean is never completely silent. It always holds a low hum, a sound like breathing, like waiting. And maybe that is what hope really sounds like. Not a shout, not a promise, just a low, steady hum beneath everything refusing to end. When night returns and the surface darkens, the whales rise once more to breathe. Their bodies catch the last light turning gold, then silver, then blue again. Mist blooms above them like clouds made of memory. They exhale, and the air becomes sky. They inhale, and the sky becomes sea again. The cycle continues, life moving quietly through itself. The night drifts softly over the ocean, and still the whales remain. Around them, the water glows, faintly tiny plankton, igniting with every slow movement, a scatter of stars beneath the waves. It is here, in this gentle dark, that a quieter kind of joy lives. Even the giants of the sea have moments of play. A calf rolls near its mother, pushing against her fin, as though testing gravity. The mother answers with a swirl of bubbles, a gesture that could almost be laughter. Their voices hum together, not a song of longing now, but of delight. When a whale breaches, it is joy breaking the surface. A burst of motion so free that even the air seems surprised. The body twists in sunlight, spraying galaxies of droplets, then falls again with a sound that could be thunder or applause. The waves roll outward, a slow echo of happiness. There is humor in their gentleness too, in the odd facts that make them more alive, more real. A whale's milk is as thick as cream cheese, rich enough to feed a baby that grows 100 kilograms a day. Their earwax forms layers like tree rings, a record of years hidden in silence. And when they breathe too close, the mist that falls is warm, the scent of salt and life together. The belugas of the north sing brighter tunes. Their sounds bubble through the water like laughter turned to music. Sailors once called them the canaries of the sea, and even now their voices ring like bells under ice. To hear them is to feel the heart lift, proof that even the coldest places can hold joy. The whales carry this lightness with them through depths where sunlight never goes. They do not guard it or seek to keep it. It lives in their movement, in the soft curve of their journeys, in the breath that joins sea to sky. Joy, like the tide, needs no reason. It simply arrives quietly whenever life remembers itself. And as the night deepens, Their bodies drift beneath the stars, each one glowing faintly with reflected light. A constellation written in water spelling peace across the dark. The ocean quiets once more. The waves smooth themselves into glass, and the stars above shimmer like plankton turned to sky. Somewhere far below, a single whale exhales a soft plume rising through darkness, fading before it reaches the surface. The song continues, though it no longer needs to be heard. It has become part of the water, woven into every current, an echo, a language of calm that belongs to the earth itself. In that stillness, the sea remembers all that has passed through it. The footsteps of ancient creatures returning home, the migrations, the calls that crossed continents, the breaths that joined air to ocean. Every ripple carries memory. Every silence carries love. For the whale's time is circular. Each birth echoes an ending. Each dive recalls an ascent. They move not to arrive, but to continue. And in that continuation lies peace. When we listen to them, truly listen, we hear not only their voices, but our own reflection. A reminder that the world is one vast breath, inhaling and exhaling itself across ages. Perhaps that is why their songs feel so human, because they are older than language, and yet somehow say what words cannot. They speak of slowness, of patience, of the strength that hides inside surrender. Above dawn begins again. The horizon blushes with light, and the sea wakes gently beneath it. Mist drifts over the surface, carrying the faint echo of distant calls. The night withdraws, and the first warmth of morning touches the backs of those rising to breathe. The whales move on not toward an ending, but deeper into their endless song. Their voices fold into the sea's rhythm, soft as heartbeat, steady as hope. The ocean exhales, and the world breathes with it. And if somewhere beyond our stars, another ear were listening, perhaps they would hear it too. A sound not of sorrow or warning, but of belonging. The voice of a planet singing softly to itself.